Hello everyone. Welcome to EduTap's another insightful session of Perspective 360 degree where we do current affair based answer writing practice in a detailed and structured manner. So if you are an aspirant preparing for exams like RBI, NABARD, etc., then this initiative is definitely going to help you with answer writing practice for the descriptive paper of phase 2. So let us begin with the discussion, and the topic that we are going to discuss for today is the unemployment. And the reason why we have chosen this topic is because of the recent India employment report that was recently released by International Labour Organization. And this report is primarily based on the analysis of data from national sample surveys and periodic labor force survey between 2000 to 2022. So this is why we are discussing this news, and as far as the syllabus is concerned, the topic employment generation has been very precisely mentioned in the RBI Grade B syllabus and in the NABARD Grade A syllabus also. So that is why this gives an important reason for us to prepare this topic in a detailed manner. And if you are somebody who is new to our Perspective 360 degree series, so let me tell you that here firstly we give you an expected question, and we are going to discuss this expected question as a part of this session. And once this session is done, you have to write the answer of this expected question in the comment box, where our team will evaluate your answer in a detailed manner within next 48 hours. So if you want your answer to get evaluated, you have to post your answer in the comment box within 48 hours, that is before Wednesday 5 p.m. I hope this is clear, and let me also add that this whole initiative is free of cost. So the expected question for today is, to resolve the issue of unemployment, there is a need for multi-pronged approach. In this slide, discuss the challenges of employment in India and the steps needed to resolve this long-standing issue. So the first keyword that we have to analyze or we have to identify in this question is discuss the challenges of employment in India. The challenges related to solving the problem of employment in India. So that is our first keyword, which is going to be the first heading of our body also. The second keyword is the steps needed to resolve the long standing issue. So we have to write the steps or the solutions that we need in order to solve the challenges. The third is also mention the measures taken by the government in this regard. So the third heading is going to be regarding the measures taken by the government. So I hope the keywords are clear to you. Now let us look at the answer blueprint, the blueprint that I would like you to follow while you are writing your answer in the comment box and also in your examination. So you have to divide your answer into introduction, body and the conclusion. And as I always say that the introduction should be around 10 to 12% of the total word limit, and the same rule applies to the conclusion also. The rest of the word limit should be allocated to the body part, where you will write your body in the form of different headings and subheadings. And in this question, you are going to have three headings, which is challenges, solutions, and the measures taken by the government. And under the headings, you will write different subheadings under which you are going to write your relevant points. And you also have to substantiate these points with the help of relevant data, facts, and examples. So I hope the point or the approach is clear to you. Now this is what we have already seen, how we have to break down our answer by writing the introduction, then the body part 1, body part 2, and the body part 3, and at the end the conclusion. So let us see the key highlights with respect to the India employment report. But before we do that, let us first discuss the different important key terms that I want you to understand if you want to understand this whole issue of employment. And this will be very helpful for you, especially while reading the articles and editorials in the newspapers with respect to this issue. So let us see the important key terms. Now, the first term that I want you to understand is the employment. What do we mean by employment? So, employment means when an individual engages in an economic activity. A very basic definition: in this economic activity, he earns on the basis of his work. And what do we mean by unemployment? Now, unemployment means when a person is capable of doing work and is willing to do work, but is not getting the work. So that these are the two criteria that we use in order to classify somebody as unemployed. He is capable of doing work and he is also willing to do work but is not getting the work. So that is the difference between employment and the unemployment. The third key term is the labor force. Now, what do we mean by labor force? Labor force means the total number of employed and the unemployed persons in an economy. So, the employed and unemployed, both of them are included as a part of labor force. The next is labor force participation rate. What do we mean by labor force participation rate? You must have seen this data of labor force participation rate is XYZ percentage. So what does it mean? So it means that the total number of people in the labor force out of the total population. Now, who are those people who are not a part of labor force? We have seen that the employed people are also part of labor force and the unemployed population is also part of labor force. Then who are those persons who are not the part of labor force? So the people who are not a part of labor force are the ones who are neither working nor seeking to work. So they are not working, neither they are working nor they are seeking to work. And who are these people? At that certain point of time, they can be students who are studying and working is not a priority in their life at that point of time. Then there are pensioners, etc. So these are the category of people who are not a part of the labor force. You can also include the people who are engaged in the domestic works, such as housewives, etc., because they are not getting paid for that work. So these are the people who are the part of the labor force. And by that, we derive the definition of labor force participation rate, which means the total number of persons in the labor force out of the total population. Now, there are another few small important key terms, such as the worker participation rate. Now, what do we mean by worker participation rate? It means the total number of employed persons out of the total population. Now, there is an important term, or I would say another term, which is very much similar to worker population rate, but is different from it, which is the employment rate. Now, what is employment rate? Employment rate means the total number of employed persons out of the total labor force. So this is employed persons out of the total population and this is the employed persons out of the total labor force. That is the difference between the work participation rate and the employment rate. Now there are the last two important terms, which are proportion unemployed, which is the unemployed persons out of the total population, and then there is unemployment rate. What do you mean by unemployment rate? It means the unemployed persons out of the total labor force. Because total labor force, what does it include? It includes both employed and the unemployed. When we talk about only the employed persons, then we are talking about the employment rate, and when we are talking about total unemployed persons out of the total labor force, then we are talking about unemployment rate. So that is the difference. So when you heard about these terms, unemployment rate in India or the employment rate in India, then understand then that this rate is not out of total population. This is out of the total labor force, which makes an employment rate more precise as compared to the work population ratio. So I hope this is clear to you. Now these are the important terms that I wanted to discuss. Now there are few another important terms that I want to discuss so that you get a basic idea or a good idea about the unemployment. So we are going to discuss the different type of unemployments that are there. So such as we are going to discuss this very briefly, such as the frictional unemployment. So frictional unemployment means when a person moves from one job to another in order to find the better job. So this is nothing but the frictional unemployment. The second type of unemployment is the structural unemployment. So what do you mean by structural unemployment? It means mismatch between available and the required skills. What could be the reason of that? Why this mismatch is there? Because of the structural changes in the economy. What kind of structural changes can be there? For example, the IT revolution. What is going to happen after IT revolution? Increase in the demands of the skills with respect to computers. So if an IT revolution is happening in a country, then there is a high chance that a large number of population would not have the sufficient skills in order to adjust itself as a part of the revolution, because it takes time to enhance the skills, to make those skills reach to the different types of population. So such mismatch exists in such circumstances. So this is nothing but the structural unemployment. The third type is cyclical unemployment. So it is the type of unemployment which is caused because of the boom and slowdown in economic cycle. So when the economic cycle is rising or it is falling, so as a result of that, the unemployment that takes place, it is a form of cyclic unemployment. Then there is another, that is seasonal unemployment. It is because of the variations in season. For example, the agriculture sector. And last one is the disguised unemployment, where more than required number of people are working for a certain task. So in this type of employment, the thing is that the marginal productivity is zero. Why? Because more than required people are working. Suppose this is a small field and 10 people are working in this field, but only 5 people are sufficient, or let's say the 4 people are sufficient in order to work on this field, but 6 people are extra. So what these 6 people are part of? They are the part of disguised unemployment. It means the more than the required number of people are working in a certain task or a job. So these are the different type of unemployments. Now let us see the key highlights with respect to the report. So as I told you that this report has been formed by analyzing the data from the different national sample surveys and the periodic labor force surveys, etc. So in order to do that analysis or the data, what this report does, it uses different indicators. Indicators such as labor force participation rate, or the worker participation ratio, the percentage of casual workers in the employment, the percentage of people who are in the formal economy, all those type of different indicators. So on the basis of those indicators, what this report is saying that despite periods of economic hardship in India, including the COVID-19 pandemic period, there has been some improvement in labor market indicators, such as the labor force participation rate and the unemployment rate, which is a good news. But along with that, this report is also highlighting the concerns over the employment condition. So the report raises concerns about the quality of employment, particularly regarding the slow transition away from agriculture, increased informal employment, and stagnation or declining wages. Now, what does it mean? Why the slow transition away from agriculture is a problem? It is because it has been evident that agriculture has been seen to be providing the low quality jobs. The agriculture sector. What type of low quality jobs? These low quality jobs have been characterized by such as low wages, long working hours, lack of social security, limited opportunities for skill development, and lack of career advancements as compared to the other manufacturing and the service sector. So these are the problems that have been associated with the agriculture. And also, even if agriculture employs more than 45% of the workforce, but still it contributes to only 12 to 13% of the GDP, which is a problem. So this is why the slow transition away from agriculture. Away from agriculture means moving away from agriculture to manufacturing and service sector. So slow transition to this sector, to these sectors by moving away from agriculture is considered as a problem, because these are the problems in the agriculture sector. So that raises concerns about the quality of employment. The second is increased informal employment. Now, what do you mean by informal employment? Employment in the formal sector means the firm provides some form of social security to its employees. Also, it operates under a regulatory framework, which is not the case in terms of informal employment. In addition to that, this sector is, which is the formal sector, it is taxed by the government, which also benefits the government in order to regulate the whole sector, which is not the case with the informal employment. And that is also another factor why it raises the concerns about the quality of the employment, because it has been seen that there has been increase in the informal employment. The third factor is the stagnation or the declining wages, which is also another reason regarding the quality or the concerns regarding the quality of employment. I hope you are getting the issue, you are understanding the point. Now let us read the data, which says the self-employment and the unpaid family work increased, especially for women. Almost 82% of the workforce is engaged in the informal sector and nearly 90% is informally employed. So you can see the percentage of workforce that is engaged in the informal sector, which of course raises the concerns about the quality of employment that has been highlighted in the report. The third is regarding the gender disparities. So the report also talks about the gender disparities, the gender gap that is there in India with respect to the labor force participation rate, and also the gap that is there between the wages of the men and women. So it talks about the female labor force participation rate remains low compared to the male participation. Also, although there has been a recent uptick, India's low female labor participation rate is attributed to various factors and remains lower than the global average. So the global average is 47.3%, and the India's women labor force participation rate is 32.8%, which is much lesser and is 2.3 times lower than the men labor force participation rate, which is 77.2%. So you can see very clearly the gap between this labor force participation rate of men and women, which highlights the issue of gender disparity in the employment sector and has been highlighted by the report. The last point is regarding the youth employment challenge, which is also an important issue highlighted by the report. So it says that while there has been increase in youth employment, concerns persist about the quality of jobs, particularly for educated youth who face higher unemployment rates compared to less educated counterparts. Can you understand this point? I'm going to read it again, that educated youth who face higher unemployment rates compared to less educated counterparts. This is problematic because the data says in 2022 the share of unemployed youth in the total unemployed population was 82.9%. This is, I'm talking about the unemployed youth only. Now, if we go into details, then the share of educated youth among all unemployed people also increased to 65.7% from 54.2% in the year 2000. So you can see the increase that has been there among the educated youth. It means the educated youth is struggling to find the job as compared to those people who are less educated than him in the different sectors. So this is another problem. The last point is the graduates among the youth experience a 9 times greater unemployment rate than young persons who could not read or write. So you can see this data and analyze it, how problematic it is, what type of concerns have been raised by this report, and I would like you to write this data in your notes so that if the questions come related to employment or in case of essay also. So I hope the highlights are clear to you. Now let us see how can we write the introduction of this question. So let me take you back to the question. So to resolve the issue of unemployment, there is a need for multi-pronged approach. In this in this slide discuss the challenges of employment in India and the steps needed to resolve this long-standing issue. So let us see what type of introduction we can write. So what we can write is, according to periodic labor force survey, the unemployment rate was 3.1% in 2023. So this is the data by a periodic labor force survey, and we can start it as a part of an introduction. Then we can say the recent India Employment Report 2024 by ILO has highlighted persistent concerns, specifically focused on employment quality, women's participation in the workforce, and challenges related to structural transformation. So what we are doing in the introduction part, now the analysis part, we are keeping it on hold. We are coming to answer writing part. So as far as the answer writing is concerned, I always tell you that in such type of questions, you can start your introduction with the help of data. Apart from that, what you can do, you can address what has been mentioned in the question, and you can give a snapshot of what all are you going to write as a part of your body. So what we are doing, we are writing about the India Employment Report that has highlighted these concerns, because these are the concerns that I have written in my body also. So what I'm giving a brief snapshot or a brief idea about the issue or the seriousness of the issue by giving the data and the relevant facts. Now what we can write after that, despite ongoing emphasis and programs aimed at addressing it, unemployment remains a formidable challenge in India. So what is this? This is our connecting line of the introduction. And as I always repeat in my sessions, that what is the use of connecting line? You have to use this connecting line, which is the last line of your introduction, with the heading of your body. So in the heading, what you are going to write, the challenges related to employment in India. And what you are writing here, unemployment remains a formidable challenge for India. That's how you are connecting your introduction with the body part, and you are creating a logical flow in your answer. I hope the approach is clear to you. Now let us move on to the greater details, and here we are going to see the body part, which is challenges related to unemployment in India, or the employment challenges in India. So whatever points I have written here, I have taken it directly from the India Employment Report released by the ILO. So you can add other points also if you want. Since I was using that report as a reference of our discussion, that's why I have taken most of the points from that report only. Now, the first point is regarding slow employment generation and lack of structural transformation. Now, as you would be knowing that in an economy, there are different sectors such as the agriculture sector, then the manufacturing sector, and then the service sector. Now, the agriculture sector contributes around more than 45% of the total workforce that is employed in our economy. However, it only contributes 12 to 13% of the GDP, which is problematic and raises concerns regarding the productivity of agriculture sector and its contribution to the economic growth and our GDP. Now, when we talk about the service sector contributes highly to the GDP and to the employment, and that's why India is also called service-led economy, because service sector plays a major role as far as our economic development is concerned. Now, when we talk about the manufacturing sector, it is said that though India emphasized on manufacturing sector also in the post-independence era, so for example, in the second five-year plan, we had Mahalanobis plan. You must have heard about it, Mahalanobis plan. So India emphasized on manufacturing sector also, but it failed to implement it in a right manner, and that's why somewhere the contribution of our manufacturing sector in the GDP and the employment is lower than expected when we compare the Indian economy with the other similar economies which has similar income levels. So that is the issue regarding our economy, that we have focused less on the manufacturing sector. Though now we are trying to rectify our mistake by promoting plans such as the Startup India, MG Narega, Invest in India, all those things. So now we are taking steps, and in the past few years we have been taking such steps, but this is one of the, you can say, a loophole as far as our transition in the economic development from one sector to another is concerned. So that is an important issue with respect to the structural transformation and the slow employment generation, because manufacturing sector is one of the important sources of the employment generation. So that's why the process of structural transformation had been slowed down in India. So this is what exactly has been written in the report, and report is saying that it is mainly due to growth process being led by service led, contrary to the manufacturing led, that most developed countries experience during their development process. Consequently, the process of structural transformation has been slow in India and even characterized as stunted. So this is what we mean by slow employment generation and lack of structural transformation. I hope you got the point. So the second point is regarding labor market inequalities and the challenges of technology. So there has been long debate between the technology versus employment. So it has been said that with the rise of technology, the employment opportunities are diminishing. But that is not the case, because though on one side the employment opportunities are getting reduced in some areas, for example, manual jobs such as the data entry jobs, then carrying the logistics in factory, etc. These types of jobs are being replaced by the robots, and with the advancement of artificial technology, internet of things, etc., all these types of things, these type of employment opportunities are getting reduced. But at the same times, the employment opportunities are also increasing with respect to another set of skills such as the coding and all such type of skills. So what would you say? The employment opportunities are reducing or they're increasing? The answer is, though they are reducing in some areas, but they are also increasing in other areas. So this is an important challenge as far as the labor market inequalities and the challenges of technology are concerned. Why labor market inequalities? Because everybody is not skilled enough to get these jobs. These jobs require high profile education, professional courses, and all those things which are not available, especially in the rural areas, and those people who are not able to avail this opportunity. So what it does, it leads to some sort of inequalities in the market. So that is the point that has been addressed here. So let us read the point, which says the new technology developments have led to significant changes in the labor market. First, the capital intensity over the years has been increasing. What do we mean by capital intensity? So capital intensity means degree to which capital is utilized in production process relative to labor. So it means that to what extent the capital has been able to replace the labor. So what capital means here? Capital means machinery, equipment, technology, etc. These are the different forms of capital. So the capital intensity over the years has been increasing, leading to lower employment intensity of the growth process. Secondly, the skill composition of work has been changing. While jobs requiring high skills have been increasing, those requiring low skills have been contracting. This is what I have explained to you, thus exacerbating the labor market inequalities. The labor market exhibits rather high levels of inequality in terms of regions, social groups, gender, and occupation. This is a major factor behind the labor market inequalities and the overall social inequalities. Here I have also added some value addition information, where the Indian CEO of this company, Dukan, and he had replaced 90% of the support staff with AI. So it means how the technology has replaced the employment. So that is the area where we have discussed. So the second point I think is also clear. Now the third is the regional disparities. So regional demographic changes highlight the disparity in employment outcomes, particularly youth employment across the regions. So many large states in eastern and central parts of India are characterized by youth bulge. So in India, if we see the eastern and the central part, that is UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, and West Bengal, and some Madhya Pradesh, all these type of areas. So there is, this area is characterized by a youth bulge. Youth bulge means there is a high proportion of, or the population of youth in this area, which means a great scope of demographic dividend. So these states are relatively underdeveloped and have low per capita income. So in addition to that, these states have small proportion of highly educated youth, then low incidence of formal employment, and large proportion of youth, young people not in employment, which means that even if these areas have a high youth bulge, they do not have the capacity to convert this demography into demography dividend. Why is it so? Because of the challenges such as the small proportion of highly educated youth. The youth are not educated enough, which means they are not skilled enough to get the high profile jobs that are available in the different sectors. Then low incidence of formal employment. We have already seen the difference between formal and the informal sector. So the low incidence of formal employment and the large proportion of young people not in employment, which means they are unemployed and have lack of education and the training, which underscores the need of regional policy designed to address the differences. So this is the point regarding regional disparities. Then the education and skills mismatch. So according to Skill India report, only 5% of the Indian population is formally skilled compared to 68% in the UK and 75% in Germany. This is nothing but because of the skill mismatch, because our education system is not designed to make us eligible to get these jobs. So there is mismatch between the job that are available in the market and the quality of education that the education system provides, and this leads to the mismatch of the skills. And we have already discussed in the initial part of this session what type of unemployment it is. It is the form of structural unemployment. Because of the structural changes in the economy, it leads to mismatch of the required skills and the available skills that are there in the market. So I hope this point is clear to you, and I have also written the data related to it. I've explained it to you, and I hope this point is clear. The fifth point is regarding the climate change that has been mentioned in the report. So how climate change is related to the unemployment challenges or the employment causes. So whenever the climate change happens, this lead to multiple factors or the outcomes, such as the heat waves, then the floods, rise in sea levels, etc. There are multiple factors that compound to different type of problems. So as per the International Labour Organization data, India lost 4.3% of the working hours in 1995 because of the heat stress. So in the 1995, during the heat stress period, at that time India lost around 4.3% of the working hours that led to the unproductivity in the economy. And this time in 2030, it is projected to lose 5.8% of its working hours, which correspond to 34 million jobs. So this is the data that has been projected by the ILO, and which reflects the impact of climate change on the employment in India. So the excess heat during work is an occupational health risk and restricts workers' physical functions and capabilities, works, and thus productivity. We have discussed that, and I hope this point is clear to you in a detailed manner. Now let us see the solutions that we can take in order to solve these challenges. So I have taken these solutions from the report only. So let us discuss it one by one. So the five key policy areas which the report mentions that India should work upon, that is promoting the job creation, improving employment quality, addressing labor market inequalities, strengthening skills and active labor market policies, and the bridging the knowledge deficit on labor market patterns and youth employment, which means reforms in the education sector. So this we have already discussed, and these are the recommendations that are given by the report, which is India Employment Report by ILO, let us see another point, which is investment and regulation. So government should do more investment and regulation in the digital economy, which could be an important source of productive employment. The lack of job security, irregular wages, and uncertain employment status of workers pose significant challenges for gig or platform workers. So gig workers are informal workers, which are a part of informal economy. For example, Uber drivers, and etc., which are usually the freelancers. So the what the report is recommending to bring this informal economy under some proper regulation system, so that they can also enjoy the benefits of social security and proper regular wages and etc. So this is another recommendation by the report. The third is stimulating productive non-farm employment. So the non-farm employment means the employment in manufacturing sector and the service sector. So this is also the solution that is recommended by the report, that the economic policies are required to boost productive non-farm employment, especially in the manufacturing sector, which I've already discussed that India has been lagging in this sector. We need more work to be done in this sector in order to generate more labor employment and improvement of technology and innovation, which India likely to add 7 to 8 million youths annually to the labor force during the next decade. So I hope this is clear to you, that what is the potential if we are able to boost the productive non-farm employment, especially in the manufacturing sector. The next is support to the MSMEs. So more support is needed to MSMEs, especially by providing them tools such as digitization and AI and cluster-based approach to manufacturing. And also the government should follow simple taxation policy for startups, so that it becomes easy for startups to start their business. So what it will do, it will promote the ranking of India in ease of doing business. So this is another important solution with respect to the problem of employment in India, as recommended by the Indian employment report. So the next or the last point is regarding to implement a national employment policy. Presently, the status is that we do not have a national employment policy in India. So the evidence suggests that the employment challenge can no longer be met only through more rapid GDP growth. So we cannot fix the employment challenges by only focusing on the GDP growth. What we need in addition to that is focusing on formulation of policies such as national employment policy, and not just the formulation but also the proper implementation or the evidence based implementation of such policies in order to tackle the problems of employment in India. So I hope this point is also clear to you. Now let us move to the last step, which is regarding the steps taken by the government in the direction of solving the problems of unemployment. So you can add the schemes in your answer, which is MG Narega, that provides social security by guaranteeing a minimum of 100 days paid work. Then Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, which is related to the skill training. Then the Startup India, that promotes entrepreneurship, and the Stand Up India, that or the Mudra scheme, that promotes bank loan between 10 lakh to 1 crore to at least one SC or ST borrowers, or at least one woman. So how this promote inclusivity in the society or in the economy. And the last one is production linked intensive scheme, where the government gives intensive to the manufacturing companies to scale up domestic manufacturing capability, and it is also accompanied by high import substitution and employment generation. So these are the points regarding the steps that have been taken by the government, and the government needs to do more in order to solve the challenges of employment in India. The last is the conclusion, and as I always say in all my lectures, that how we write our conclusion in a methodological manner by dividing it into a starter, a conclusion starter, and then the explanation of the starter, and then a way forward. And if the question is with respect to India, then we are going to write a line on India also. So let us see how I have designed the conclusion this time also by following the same approach. So unemployment remains a significant challenge in India, requiring a comprehensive and multi-pronged approach for effective resolution. So what we are doing, we are addressing the question that it remains a significant challenge requiring a comprehensive and multi-pronged approach, which was written in the question also, that there is a need of multi-pronged approach. So what we are saying, it is still an a significant challenge that requires a multi-pronged approach. We are taking a stand that yes, we agree with this fact that unemployment is a major challenge. Then what we are going to do, we are going to give explanation of starter point, why we take that stand, why we think so. So despite various efforts, the persistence of this challenge is evident, underscored by various factors such as structural transformation challenges, disparities in unemployment quality, and gender imbalances in the workforce. So what we are saying, we are saying that yes, unemployment is a significant challenge. And why it is a significant challenge? Because of these points, because of the structural transformation challenges which I have already told you, agriculture to manufacturing to services, we have missed the manufacturing and all those things. Then disparities in employment qualities, we have discussed the quality factors also, and the gender imbalances where the wage gap we have already discussed. So these are the reasons why we think that the unemployment is a significant challenge, and we are talking about it in our conclusion. The last is to the way forward part, which says to address this, how we can address this. What is the next point? What is the next solution? The way forward to address this long-standing issue, including initiatives to promote job creation, enhance employment quality, and foster skills development, are steps in the right direction. So what we need to do, we need initiatives to promote job creation, enhance employment quality, and foster skill development. So uh, have we followed all the criterias in order to write a good conclusion? The answer is yes. We have written about the starter, the explanation of the starter, then the way forward. You can add a point about India also at the end. You can write one line on India. Though we have talked about India in the starter only. So what you can do, this is how you can create a better conclusion, a well structured conclusion that includes all the points. Now that is it for today, and do not forget to write your answers in the comment box. That is, you have to write your answer before Wednesday 5 p.m. So I hope it is clear to you, and all the best. And that is it for today. Thank you so much.